Hi, Carol. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Janelle. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited that you're taking the time today to talk with us on the Valley because you are the executive director of 10,000 Small Businesses, which is near and dear to my heart. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. And you are also part of the Workforce Development Center with Manchester Community College.
Mhm.
And so, although it sounds like those two work well together, they're both separate entities. And so, I'd like for you to tell me what is your involvement with both?
Absolutely, I would love to. Thank you for having me today, by the way.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
excited to
yeah.
be
Thank
here.
you.
So in Manchester Community College, there's the Workforce Development Center, and that works with community businesses trying to help train their employees so that they can acquire more job skills. They also help people who want to change careers to have more upward mobility. So when the program started here in 2019, that was our first cohort. The whole year prior, they were trying to figure out where should we kind of sit within Manchester Community College. And as a result, we had a great alignment with our goals to help people in New Hampshire and in the New Hampshire ecosystem continue to be upwardly mobile and to create a better economy for us all. And so that's why we're part of the workforce development, but we work specifically with business owners and nonprofit leaders to help them to create more success in their entrepreneurial adventures.
And so Goldman Sachs and Babson College created 10,000 small businesses. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Goldman Sachs is the one who started it, and Babson College is their partner and ours. They did the curriculum that's involved. They're one of the premier business schools in the country, and so they put together the curriculum. They also put together learning opportunities in the alumni program. And then we have an additional external partner, which is called ICIC. It's a center for the inner city development is what it boils down to. And they help us with outreach on some degree. So we have Goldman Sachs is at the head. We have our three external partners, and we work with, I mean, our two other external partners, and we work with all three of them in putting together the program and executing it.
All right. Well, so I know, my company was part of 10,000 small businesses, and there's a criteria, there are check boxes that you have to meet as a business or a nonprofit, which I need to know more about. I don't know about that part, but as a business owner, there were certain things. It had to be a business for 2 years, right? You
Correct.
have to have a minimum of $75,000 in annual revenue. Is that
In
correct?
the prior year gross, yes.
Okay. And then you also have to have two employees. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the equivalent of two, including the business owner.
I see.
So obviously, sole proprietorships couldn't be a part of it, but if they had two part-time people, one full-time person, or even some contractors and part-time, they could qualify. And that's really so they have the time to be in the program and actually glean the most out of it.
Oh, I see. So, right. So they have support running their business while they're part of the
Exactly.
cohort and taking the time to be part of it. I see. And so when you have a nonprofit, what's the difference there? What's that criteria?
Yeah, the criteria is the same. The difference is usually the leader of the nonprofit would obviously not have ownership of the nonprofit. And so they would simply need a letter of support, which we outline what needs to be in it for the applicants, that basically says that they are a decision maker who can really make business decisions, and that the board or however that particular nonprofit is set up gives permission and full support behind this person being a part of the cohort. That's the only different criteria.
I see. And so, okay, let's just pretend now I've been accepted into the program. I'm part of, 2024's next cohort. What is it that I can expect when I go in for my first day? Is this like a classroom? Is it a big,
Mm.
executive table of people? Like, what can I expect?
That's an excellent question because I think our business owners get kind of nervous. They're not quite sure what to expect. So the program's really set up to be focused on not just learning from experts, right? But also learning from your peers. So there's this wonderful peer component. And the first day we're really easy on them. I'm just going to tell you, it's about warming them up, getting them to know each other, getting them to know our faculty, particularly our lead faculty member, and our business advisors who help them. And they're developing relationships, they're understanding what the program is about, and they're starting to set up the criteria of how they're going to work together in their groups. So that's the very first day. I think they come in really nervous because they're feeling kind of vulnerable. Like they're all these strangers. You and I talked a little bit previously about how when you own a business, it's like, oh my gosh, this is my baby. I don't want anyone telling me my child's ugly. You
Yes.
know? And so they worry. They were like, oh my God, am I going to be as effective as some of the other leaders that are in this group? Am I going to, are they going to think I'm not doing things well? So there's all this fear. And that first day is about alleviating that fear, helping them to feel the camaraderie, helping them to know what to expect. The cool thing is I see these people when they come in. I'm very much involved in like the cohort and its function. So I see them and they're all like cards held, close to the vest. They don't want to share, they hardly speak. And then as the week progresses, the in-person days progress, you start seeing them really understand what the other people are about and forming relationships and supporting one another. And that just grows through the cohort. And what they soon realize is that by being vulnerable, they're actually getting the most from the program because they're not afraid to share, their wonderful successes and their oops moments. And learn those from the other CEOs and business owners. And it's pretty magical, I'll tell you. It really is.
It's interesting. So that you're talking about that vulnerability. It's a very courageous thing to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And you're right. When if you're a business owner or the leader of a nonprofit, so you have, financial skin in the game or emotional skin in the game. And so you have to create something. And when you expose those things that you've created, if there are flaws in your system, you have to have the ability to hear other people tell you productively and constructively, I think you could do something different here, let's kind of flesh it out. And that was something that my mom and I went through with our company, was, she had to, at the time, she was the sole owner, and she had to expose the operations of our daily residential cleaning at the time, and how our cost of goods was so high, and she didn't know why. And as a business owner, when you don't have like a good profit margin, you feel a little bit like a failure, right? But then through the brainstorming through her cohort, she realized how to bring her cost of goods down. She realized nobody was poo-pooing what she had been doing. And ta-da, lo and behold, we had higher profit margins just through that process. So, and that was very exposing. But by the end of it, she had no problem taking those cards, like you said, away from her chest and just putting them on the table and be like, let's talk about this, So it was a very successful experience for us. I just wanted to say that based on what you had just talked about, because what you're doing is working,
I love success stories. I truly do. We hear a lot of them, and sometimes they're unexpected, like just the way that they unfold. I feel like a lot of times it's not just the courage it takes to be vulnerable, but it's also courage too. And I have to kind of give a nod to this aspect, is that to kind of earmark the time of the cohort, because we're not talking about an hour, we're talking about 12 weeks. And although it's not every hour of a work day for 12 weeks, it's a time commitment. And you feel, I think most business owners, and myself included, when I had my business, I felt like if I stepped away from that helm, and or having my hands in operations where I was dependent on making things happen, that I'm not going to be succeeding. I'm not going to be okay if I step away for that time. But the truth of the matter is, it's well invested time that can actually propel you forward and help you to step out of those operations and trust your people to be able to do their job and to function. And it's, that's really the first lesson with 10KSB. They have to delegate to that those other people while they're in the cohort and learn to trust them and to prepare them. And
Mhm.
so, that takes courage. It really does.
Mhm. And so the other day we were speaking on the phone and you were talking about mindset. So you're starting to talk about that now without saying that word. And I loved it. It was a very eureka kind of moment for me when you talked about the importance of mindset. I think a lot of people do their best to keep a positive mindset without understanding that that's what they're doing. So I would love for you to elaborate on why that's important.
Yeah. Mindset is everything. Like, and of course, as you know, have a background as a psychotherapist, and I worked in business with that, that background. And mindset is everything. I mean, and we hear a lot about positive thinking, and that's part of mindset, but that's not the whole of mindset. You look at a growth mindset, for example. Growth mindset is willing to not need to hold on to rigidity, but being able to listen and be open. It's about being able to um, hear challenges maybe that other people have had different experiences than you and integrate that into what you believe. And a lot of times, human nature is human nature, and we can't help it. Some people have a growth mindset and they work really hard to stay in that. But we tend to get caught in our thinking.
Mhm.
We have certain experiences and we think about them a certain way, and then every experience that's anything like it starts to reinforce that initial judgment we made. And so sometimes that mindset, we don't realize we're stuck in an unproductive mindset. And so being able to recognize that sometimes you need to not be so rigid in that and be open to other people's thoughts, opinions, to thinking differently, to trying new things, and to not get caught up in that rut of thinking is really what it is. What I love about our program is because of the peer learning model and the experts coming in with different viewpoints as well, you're getting this wonderful mix where all of a sudden you're seeing, okay, wow, I was viewing it like this, but it really is an issue that is this. And there are a lot of ways to approach it. And the same is true of evaluating opportunity. We have a mindset that it has to be this way, but it can be many different ways. So we're really enforcing a growth mindset with people that they can then not only start to see things differently as they work on their growth plan, but they take that with them when they leave the cohort into the rest of their business entrepreneurial life.
Mhm. Yeah, that reminds me. I love what you just said. Having to be flexible. It's like riding the wave, right?
Mhm.
And you said the word rigidity, and so it's so easy to like, well, no, this is my format. This is my mission. And you hold on to something, and without being flexible or open-minded to change that could sometimes be the demise of growth, right? And
Absolutely.
so I always tell myself, because every business has a crisis, right? And I always say there's opportunity in crisis, right? And that's when it's most important to kind of stay open-minded and not be rigid in those moments, being flexible through crisis and just kind of keeping a broader scope of solutions, available is so important because otherwise you can't grow, can you?
You can't. And I think we have to have a healthy curiosity.
Mm,
The question of what if?
yeah.
That's a
Mhm.
growth mindset then right there. It's like to be interested in, oh, have you faced this problem and what did you do and how did it work out? And not feel like you have to have an ego involvement in it, but you can just be curious, right?
Sure.
It doesn't matter if maybe you had a different opinion or not. It's curiosity.
Sure. So, okay, so now we've made ourselves vulnerable. We're in the cohort, our cards are on the table, we're open-minded to a growth mindset. So at the end of the program, you said it's 12 weeks of commitment. So what is it that somebody can expect at the end as they graduate? What comes next?
Oh, okay. So I probably should mention the 12 weeks, we only have two of them that require on-site time, the first week and the last week. The rest are virtual and they require a lot less time commitment than those in-person days. So I just want to make sure people understand it's not like they're not locked into a 40 hours every week for that 12 weeks. They
That's
can have a
important.
normal life as well.
Sure.
Um, but at the end, people have put together through the course of the whole program their own actionable growth plan based on their specific business. And so many of them implement it far before graduation,
Mm.
but because there are things that they could do right away that they identify. But after graduation, they become a part of our alumni circle. So there are over 14,000 alumni of the program nationally. And our program has a platform, an alumni platform that's just all things, as we call it, 10K SB Connect. And they basically can network not only with everyone in New Hampshire, but also nationally. And they've also started programs internationally, both in the UK and in France.
Oh,
So there's a lot, like if someone had a product they might want to export, that could also be a boon to them as well. So we immediately get them into connecting with the alumni that they might have something in common with, and they have access through the platform, which is great. They can reach out to people and direct message them if they have a question or they, want help or what have you. They can go to like if you were to travel, for example, to California, you could check out and see what alumni programs are going on in California while you're there and become a part of those. So there's a lot to be had. And then we continue to offer programming locally as well. We have 2 in-person alumni clinics per year that are ongoing educational opportunities as well as networking. They can be everything to understanding how you work towards an exit strategy, even if you're working on growing your business now, at some point we all want to retire, right? So what
yeah.
will your exit strategy be? And you can start doing things to work towards that now so it's successful. It could be about finances, it could be about marketing, any number of really important business facets. We offer virtual programming and social and networking programs here in the state, and then there are national ones as well that people can take advantage of. So it really is just continuing to kind of bring them in to connecting with other people, building those relationships, and continually having that mindset for learning.
Mm.
Um, People, they'll come in and they'll take advantage of it, and then maybe they go through a busy period and we don't see them for a couple things, and then they come back in. But they're a part of a big family now of
Mm.
like-minded business owners, and it's a think tank. The cohort, each cohort that meets, they form really tight relationships. They're calling each other. One of our, it was like 2 or 3 cohorts ago, one of our alumni, she wanted to have a mobile unit for her business. And she knew another person in her cohort that actually was in trades, and they had many, like a huge fleet. And so she was connecting with that person, trying to understand what does she need to know if she's going to have a fleet of vehicles and what are some of the benefits. And they were working together. I mean, they still get together as a group. Many cohorts do. They have their own little things outside of what we offer an alumni program.
Mm.
Um, they are customers of each other's businesses. I mean, some of them connected with people who are marketing firms or have HR services that they offer or other benefits. And they work with them directly. They buy from each other if they have products. It's like a really nice ongoing relationship. And then they can expand that to other cohorts and to national.
Mm.
So that's really what people can expect. They get so much more than just what they learn in the cohort.
Mm. Yeah, my mom had the cohort back in 2019. I think she was part of the first one. And so Matt Cookson with Cookson Communications was part of her cohort, and I still connect with him to this day. He's redone my website. Sometimes we'll go out for a lunch just to touch base and just see how things are going. And he has been so instrumental in my growth since then. And I didn't know him. It was my mother. But like just because one business and the other business just, had like things to talk about and be interested in one another, that relationship has grown since then. It's a nice, strongly forged relationship. So, and then, every once in a while he'll chime in and say, there's an event that you should be a part of. I thought about you. And so, just to, kind of drive your point home that it's a long lasting relationship for sure.
It is.
So that what I love is this whole program I love so much that you offer to the community, and you're so approachable, which is so important, I feel like. And I'm very grateful for what you and 10,000 Small Businesses and Goldman Sachs have provided for us. So what's the future plan? So I know me, like I'm grateful. So like, how many more generations of cohorts can we expect? What's the future look like?
I don't see it stopping. I really don't. And they're so, Goldman Sachs Foundation provides the grant money for our program. So and I think this is important. They keep the financier Goldman Sachs and the foundation Goldman Sachs very separate. So they don't like solicit our graduates. They're really doing this to help communities.
Hmm.
And, we don't think about it, but Goldman Sachs started as a family business at one point, even though it's huge now, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's one of those things that they really have an investment in this. And the investment I see, emotional and financial, is very strong. I don't see it going away.
Hmm.
So the network's only going to get bigger. The programming is only going to get better with the feedback of our cohort participants. Yeah, I think it has a really bright future. And in fact, they're expanding to things like, helping underserved communities, um, female Black business owners, for example, 10,000 Black women in their businesses. They have all these different initiatives. So if anything, I see them expanding, not contracting.
That's
Um, and, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here in New Hampshire. We're still trying to get the word out. And a lot of people still don't know we're here, which
mm,
amazes me because I've only been here like it's going on 2 years now. But we've had the program since 2019. And I think part of that's maybe the pandemic and
mhm,
how everything kind of got smaller and contracted during that time. But we do 2 cohorts a year, one that begins in March and one that begins in September. And that is the plan moving forward.
mm. And so you said people don't know, some people don't know that you're here. How can people find out more information about 10,000 Small Businesses?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The first thing is they can go on 10ksbapply.com. That will tell them, I will outline kind of what the different modules are that they learn, as well as we have testimonials from some of our alumni, ours in New Hampshire, but also nationally. It talks all about the program. They can go through a little interactive quiz to see if they meet the criteria so they know whether to apply or not. Um, we're also, Tracy Gillick is our outreach specialist. She and I are out in the community at our chamber partners, going to events. We're going to different industry events as well. And so, probably people will run into us because we're certainly not shy about being out there. But, I certainly too, we try to get the word out through public relations, press releases, things of that nature. So, but the website is the easiest way to make sure to start, and then they can reach out to us certainly with any questions that they might have. Yeah.
So I have two more questions for you. One is there a highlight story that you can reflect on that has, a warm place in your heart for the work that you've done so far? Uh, yeah, what is the one like the one thing that comes to mind that really resonates with you regarding 10,000 Small Businesses?
Yeah, I can talk about, it was a couple of our cohorts ago. We had a gentleman who had a product-based business. And when he came to us, he in the very shortly into the cohort, he felt like he was in a crisis and that his business may not make it financially. And what I saw is the entire cohort and our business advisors and our faculty rallied around him and started giving him the kind of support he needed to step out of that fear place and into that growth mindset place. And very shortly after, like, I think it was only at like maybe about 3 or 4 weeks into the program, he started to turn things around. By the time he graduated, he had gotten brand new contracts nationally and had grown his business. And to see him go from this, oh, head in the hands moment, right? To, I'm not going to make it. Should I drop out of the cohort? What's going to happen? And, I'm going to say also, he had real skin in the game because a lot of these business owners bootstrap their business. And so their family's well-being is tied up in whether the business grows or not, right?
Yes.
And so he went from this crisis moment to feeling like, oh my God, okay, I've got support. Maybe I can do this, to making it happen with the support of the people around him and the program. And I felt like he was really the poster child for what I see a lot of.
Yeah.
He was reaching out and he was like, oh my God, you won't believe this. I had this national exposure and look at this new contract I got. And it was like night and day. And it's just sad when business owners keep putting it off. Like sometimes we will have those examples, like someone puts it off and they put it off because they're in that mindset, I've got to be in my business or it's going to fail. And then they have a self-fulfilling prophecy where they've been holding on to it so tightly and not getting what they need that they'll apply for the program. We had someone, and this was heartbreaking to me. They applied for the program and they're like, no, I've decided I've got to close. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't you do this before? When, what a horrible situation to be in. You know how much they put of themselves into it. So if business owners have been in business at least 2 years, they are eligible. Don't put it off. Apply. Put aside the time. I have always heard from our graduates that they're like, I'm not sure in the beginning that I made the right decision in investing this time, but they are like, oh my God, it was the best decision I made. I wish I had done it sooner. So, when you're hearing that time and time again, you just want to share that with the public because, don't be afraid and hold on so tightly that you don't get what you need to grow your business. We're
You
not in
said
a forgiving
something.
time.
Yes, I was going to say, you said something that's very important just to make, highlight and clarify that you're not investing financially in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 small businesses. You're investing your time, which is
Yes.
very valuable, but oftentimes people who are applying for the program or feel like maybe they should, maybe they don't think they have the extra money to invest in themselves, but there's no money to invest. It's just the time. Yeah, so head down, facing forward, 12 weeks of time investment, and then look like there's a great, rewarding and gifting story like that gentleman you were talking about who was bootstrapped, right? And now he's nationally recognized. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and because of the people around him and making himself vulnerable. So that's a really great way. That's a great a story to kind of highlight all of the points you've brought up here, right? You're right. He's the poster child for what it is you guys provide. So the last question I love to ask people, I know you talked about the best way people, for people to know about 10,000 small businesses is by going online, but where can people find you?
Oh, absolutely. So they can reach me at the letter C, RECCHION at ccsnh.edu. And that's my email and my phone number. I can give you that. I actually don't remember it. I'm so bad. But my phone number is 603-206-6293.
We'll put that at
Yeah,
the
I'm
top of
terrible.
the
I actually have it taped to my computer so I can remember.
That's great.
Because honestly, I'm not in the office a lot. And Tracy Gillick, she can be found at obviously the same community college system of New Hampshire.edu, but hers is T Gillick, GILLICK and the same. And I know you'll probably end up putting it on the screen
Yes.
for us, but that would be wonderful. I would love for you to share that information. And that's the easiest way. They can reach out by email. That way, if we're out at events, or, different networking things, what have you, they can still, reach us and we can get back to them when we're right back in the office.
Yeah, when I called you, it took you less than 24 hours to get back to me. You were so responsive. And then the one time it took you more than a day to get back to me via email, you told me in advance that it was going to take you more than 24 hours. So you're very, good for your word on getting back to people and communicating. So thank you. You're so easy to talk with and you're so approachable. And I think what you're doing is fantastic. So I'd just like to say thank you for investing your time today in me and taking the time to have this interview with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you out at some of the networking events and we can
Mhm.
chat some more on some of these topics.
Yes, sounds good. All right, Carol, have a great day.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.